Hello everyone, thank you for having me. Today I'm going to give you a brief security update. We're going to talk a little bit about 2022 and then zoom in on 2023 and especially what the trends are going to be. Who am I? My name is Pieter Jan Laton. I'm a senior SOC analyst at Exclusive Networks. I'm over 10 years in cybersecurity. What's on the agenda? First thing we are going to cover is we're going to talk about our detection capability. How are we doing? And then we zoom in a little bit about what companies currently are getting breached. We take that information and we go and look at the trends of 2023. The question is then, where are you as an organization? The security maturity model is going to help you with that. First thing we're looking at is how good are we at detecting? And the dwell time is a good measurement of this. The dwell time is a number of days an attacker is within your organization network or on your systems and before that is detected, the time it takes. Currently at 2021, we are at 21 days. And this is a huge improvement compared to where these measurements started to take off in 2011. Because there we were way over a year. There are internal detections, external detections, and on both levels we're making great improvements. Another thing to look at is the dwell time distribution. If we look at these attacks, in 55% of the times these attacks are being detected within 30 days. That's huge, that's a good thing. However, we are still seeing that for 8% of the attacks detected, it took over a year to actually see them. So that's a problem. We were looking at the global dwell times and the question is, how are we doing in EMEA? And what with ransomware? Because ransomware, that detection is almost instant. In a few days the ransomware actors are going to inform the organizations, you've been hacked, you have to pay up. So if we take out the ransomware out of the equation, for example, for the global dwell time, we see that we move from 21 days towards 36 days median detection time. So that's slightly less good, but still a good detection time. If we look at EMEA, we're seeing that we are on 60 days without ransomware in the equation. So that means for attackers that are not doing ransom, within 2 months the detections are there. So that's good. Who is targeted? It depends on the reports. Reports are saying different things, but in general, we see that the general victims are government, finance, healthcare, retails, enterprises. So basically, these types of organizations that have a lot of money, so for the gain of the attack groups, or organizations with specific information that is of interest for stealing. So who gets more likely breached? Certainly these companies that do not have proper security or no security at all. And we also include these organizations that just have a next-gen firewall, traditional AV, or are just thinking about MFA. This is just a disaster waiting to happen. It's just a question of when they are going to be breached, it's game over, and they have to pay up the coins. A good example of that is a breach we've recently saw in the city of Antwerp. This happened 6 December 2022. And what was interesting is that a few years ago in 2020 and 2021, there were already reports indicating that there were huge problems that needed to be rectified. Like 22 security vulnerabilities that were easy to exploit. There's a bunch of misconfigurations, unpatched software, unsupported operating systems. And even worse, if an attacker could gain access to one of the machines of a normal user, there was plenty of sensitive personal identifiable information on many of the shares where you just needed normal user access in order to be able to steal that information. And that in combination with a bad password hygiene, MFA not implemented everywhere, leaked passwords could probably be used in that organization. As I said, it was a disaster waiting to happen, and it happened on the 6th of December. The effects of that attack are still being felt today. But more interestingly to look at is these companies that have a full security stack. Are they 100% protected? Well, 100% never exist. But we see that from these organizations, they're still getting breached. And what is the issue there? Very often they are misconfigured or not properly managed. They still have high privileged users, Active Directory, they don't dare to touch the configuration, asset management is not complete, they have no idea if their security stack is implemented on all of the devices, yes or no, lift and shift to the cloud, not taking into account security hardening into the cloud, alert fatigue, and especially all of the stuff they've been putting in place for security has been improperly validated. So good validation of your full security stack is really, really important. And that brings us towards the trends that we are going to see in 2023. Especially what has become centric is the identity. If an attacker manages to steal the identity of a user, it basically becomes an employee in that organization, and it can just wander around and take the data that that user has access to. So how do we detect that? We've seen in the past few years new technologies coming up, and they're called identity threat detection and response tools. We need them in order to be able to detect that a normal user has become rogue or that identity has been stolen. And then we zoom in on more proactive approaches of defenses. Meaning, we have these tools in place, but can we try to figure out what the possible attack paths are when an attacker gets into your organization? Tools like looking for misconfiguration in the cloud, in AD, in Azure AD. Looking for unprotected and vulnerable assets. And they're especially taking into account, because there's plenty of vulnerabilities, what is the vulnerability currently that has the highest risk for your organization? And that is a vulnerability you have to pick up and fix ASAP. IT consolidation is still going on, the platform approach, and obviously we're still continuing to move towards ZTNA and SASE architecture. And that's the next theme we're going to be talking about. 2023 is going to be the year that SASE is going to take off. Because architecture meets efficiency. It is basically a platform approach. Multiple technologies are coming together to build this architecture. And this responds to the lack of budget and the lack of talent that we're currently seeing in the IT market. And then also a question is going to be, are we going to invest in a single or in a multi-vendor SASE stack? Because it's possible to have these different components and get them from one vendor or multiple vendors. We've also seen a lot of investments of certain vendors to make their SASE stack complete. Some vendors come from the SD-WAN world and they're making acquisitions in the SSE world, or the other way around. Gartner is saying exactly the same. By 2025, 65% of the enterprises will have a consolidated individual SASE components into one or two explicitly partnered SASE vendors. So we see SASE is going on, it's moving, it's taking off. Where are we as an organization? That's the next question. What are the next technologies an organization needs to spend time on, start investing in? A good measurement is the SOC capability maturity matrix. Here we see different levels of maturity, where the first level is just talking about our perimeter security, or firewalls, vulnerability scans, endpoint security. Do we have that? And the second level is all of the information that comes out of these tools. Do we centralize them in a single data lake? So log centralization. Level 3, with these logs that we have, do we also apply playbooks? Do we not only detect but also automatically start building responses? And moving on to level 4, these playbooks, they become more intelligent. We start adding machine learning, AI, to make that baselining of the information that we're seeing and the detections and the responses more advanced. Level 5 is the last level. That is, and also very important, we shouldn't forget, because that is where we are going to validate that all of the investments that we've been doing in these previous layers, that it is working the way it is being designed. Pen tests either being performed by a group of people, by a team, or automated and simulated by tools that you can also put into your organization security stack. Okay. That's it for today. Thank you and hope to see you soon.